This decade, I think the majority of two-wheeler market will be more or less completely electric.
Vehicular traffic is one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gases. A lot of them still do use two-wheelers, so I think if there's a mass shift, I think it would really have a big impact.
But it's the big picture, because when we solve EVs, we'll solve it for the world.
The advent of the electric two-wheeler has begun and complete e-scooter domination seems imminent. But what does the arrival of the e-scooter mean for the average Indian commuter? And what challenges lie ahead as more Indians try to adapt to electric mobility? Welcome to What's Up, where we talk about everything electric. Back in August 2021, Ola Electric announced pre-bookings for their S1 and S1 Pro scooters. These e-scooters could be reserved for as little as Rs 500, which is under €6. Within 24 hours, they had received over 100,000 bookings, but not before their website temporarily crashed because of the number of people who flocked to it. A month later, customers who'd pre-booked their e-scooters were allowed to make a partial payment on them to go further in the buying process. In just 2 days, Ola claims to have made Rs 1100 crore or €127 million. Now, all things considered, that's a pretty decent chunk of change. But other than the fact that Ola's coffers seem to be quite full right now, what truly interests me is the interest in electric two-wheelers. See, Ola is potentially the biggest player in the Indian two-wheeler EV market right now. But they're truly just the latest entrant into India's burgeoning two-wheeler EV scene. So who are the existing players? Well, there's Hero Electric that dominate the entry-level e-scooter market. Then there's Okinawa that operate in the same segment, although they sell rebadged scooters that are manufactured in other parts of the world. Bajaj with their Chetak Electric and TVS with the iQube are the two big OEMs that are selling electric scooters in India right now, although not in large numbers. And then there's a plucky startup named Ather Energy who have their Ather 450X and Ather 450 Plus on offer. Ather started out as an energy company founded by Tarun Mehta and Swapnil Jain, two graduates of the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology. They wanted to manufacture battery packs and sell them to existing scooter manufacturers. In the interest of R&D, they bought existing e-scooters and began riding them.
In about 6 months, we destroyed 4 electric scooters. And we didn't destroy them because our usage was pretty heavy. We destroyed them because they were really bad vehicles. But after using these products, we were convinced of two very contrasting things. First, we were convinced that electric is the future, that the technology is right, and that people would absolutely love a good, well-built electric vehicle. And the other thing we were convinced about is that, wow, every single product on the road is terrible. We need to build vehicles from scratch. We need to build a good experience for the end customer.
Now, it wasn't just the founders of Ather Energy who were disappointed with the e-scooters on offer in India at the time. See, in the early days of two-wheeler EVs in India, consumers were looking for low sticker prices, low running costs, and durable products. They might have found the first two, but they certainly didn't find the third.
So these were normally not very good quality two-wheelers, and they were low speed, just to keep the sticker price below a certain range. And it ended up creating aspirations, but not the results.
Things have certainly turned around since then. Out went lead acid and in came lithium-ion batteries. Quality, range, technology and connectivity, because let's face it, who doesn't like controlling everything with their phone, all became priorities. The smart scooter was born. And as tackling climate change and poor air quality became the focus, government policy and subsidies came into play, and the e-mobility trend found firm footing in India. But for this trend to truly become mainstream, appeasing the famously tricky Indian customer, who belongs to the world's largest two-wheeler market, is important. So what does this very specific end user truly want?
Indian consumer is extremely value conscious. I think many people confuse that with being cost conscious. That's not actually the case. Indian consumers are willing to pay money for products that they feel have high value.
I think an average two-wheeler user in India is looking for, first and foremost, consistency of product and quality. I think it's a myth that the Indian two-wheeler customer is looking for the cheapest product.
Okay, so the consensus seems to be that the average Indian customer wants value for money and a discernible sense of quality from their products. And getting this just right is critical for any two-wheeler manufacturer with electric ambitions. After all, if they can impress this very tricky customer, the whole world's their oyster. Let's take a look at Ola. The S1 and S1 Pro might be based on the Dutch Itergo app scooter, but they've since been worked on considerably by Ola, and the final scooters that go into production have been innovated upon and built keeping the Indian customer in mind. In fact, other than the cells that go into the batteries, everything is built at Ola's massive 500-acre future factory in Krishnagiri, which is staffed entirely by women, 10,000 of them. And as for output, well, Ola's got their eyes on big numbers.
Phase 1 production capacity will be about 2 million units. And then once the factory is fully finished with all 4 phases, this will have a production capacity of 10 million units. It's important to understand that, this factory is going to be the global hub. So obviously we have a large domestic market in India, which we're going to serve. But at the same time, we're also going to serve our international markets. From this factory, we will make in India for the world.
Okay, ambitions of world domination aside, you can't truly appeal to an e-scooter buyer unless you address their biggest concerns: range anxiety and the charging dilemma.
Battery swapping is the best thing because it will reduce the time. I think it's just like filling the petrol or something. You don't need to lose time.
I would prefer a charging network. I mean, battery swapping, unless there's one type of battery for all vehicles, it's unlikely you might run into trouble. But charging, I think, can be more universal.
Well, different manufacturers have found different solutions. Hero MotoCorp has tied up with Thai battery swapping giant Gogoro, although we haven't seen the results of that collaboration just yet. But most Indian customers want to own an e-scooter in its entirety. With battery swapping, the battery is one component that you don't own. Battery stations are also a lot more expensive to set up and maintain. You need more real estate, a lot of spare batteries, and personnel to man the stations. Charging stations, on the other hand, require less space and don't need to be staffed. Plus, there's the fact that it's a lot easier to achieve standardization of charging ports than it is to achieve this universal one-size-fits-all battery. Then there's Hero Electric. They've done away with the need for charging stations thanks to portable batteries which can be unplugged, carried up to one's home or one's office, and charged at a standard 3-pin socket. But this hasn't stopped them from tying up with EV startup Massive Mobility to invest in EV infrastructure in India. They have an aim to set up a grand total of up to 20,000 chargers over the next couple of years. Ola and Ather are also really pushing forward with charging infrastructure. Ather is adding 1 charger per day to what they call the Ather grid. They hope to end up with 500 fast chargers across the country by the end of March 2022. Then there's Ola, who plans on having 100,000 chargers across 400 different cities in India within the next 5 years. Then there are home chargers which can be set up to make life that much easier for the consumer. But in a country like India, where in big cities people tend to live in really large apartment complexes, getting the required permissions to set up a home charger seem to be really complicated.
And I went to my society office for a story, not because I was buying an EV, to check whether I could get a charging point installed where I normally park my motorcycles. And my society, despite being a progressive, affluent part of the world, they didn't know how to start the process. So they said, why don't you write us a letter and then we'll evaluate it and then come back to you. And they told me it would take them 3 months to make a decision. This means that they have not evaluated the idea of installing a charging point in the society even at the first stage yet.
Okay, so however you manage to get that battery loaded, your fully charged e-scooter doesn't spew out nasty emissions into the air. You've gone green. But India is still a country that relies heavily on coal to meet its energy needs. So are EVs really green if the energy going into them isn't?
So if you're able to keep pace with the electric mobility demand of electricity and in tandem create the cleaner sources of energy, that is a larger objective. So you can't say that unless you have clean energy, you shouldn't have electric mobility. Both can go in tandem, and I believe India is ready for this type of a change, where largely due to so much of focus on solar, wind, and other forms of cleaner energy inputs, we would be at least feeding most of our electric mobility through cleaner sources. And also there could be some sort of a smart metering on some sort of incentives being given for using cleaner electricity in future for electric mobility, which will make it a complete end-to-end zero polluting solution.
India and Indian EV manufacturers have lofty goals. They're hoping to convert India's 200 million two-wheelers to EVs in the hopes of a cleaner and greener future within the next few years. But scooters make up a really tiny part of that massive number. It feels like every manufacturer has an electric motorcycle that they're being very tight-lipped about but working on in the background. But India's contribution to the electric mobility race is about more than just India.
When India finds a solution to a problem, it has solved a bigger numeric problem than most of the world simply because we have more population and more vehicles. So once EVs become popular in India, I think the technology will mature faster. And I think that has a global fallout. What excites me about the product in that sense is not specifics about the product, but it's the big picture. Because when we solve EVs, we'll solve it for the world.
And there's plenty to solve. Battery waste management will be critical in the next few years. Recycling machines that have become obsolete will be imperative. And managing the country's energy resources will be crucial. But overall, India's two-wheeler EV journey looks promising. We're in for exciting times. What do you think of India's e-mobility journey? Let us know in the comments below.